Greg Slyman. I work with ABC Development. I also am a commercial broker with Hannah Commercial Real Estate in Cleveland. I've worked regionally with multiple grocers. I've done numbers of business with ALDI, Trader Joe's, Meyers, Giant Eagle. Those have been the primary ones. I've done a little bit of work with Save a Lot in the past. Specifically to what we're talking about here today, ALDI has had a site on Oberlin Avenue for as long as I've been around, so at least 20 years. I don't know how long they've been there. And it was, one time I think it was about 11,000 square feet, and they expanded it once to 15 or 16,000 square feet. And since then, their new prototype was almost 20,000 square feet. At one time it was 23,000. They pulled it back a little bit. They have been looking to upgrade in their words, upgrade their facilities to the new prototype. And the new prototype, which is what they're building over on Chestnut Ridge right now, Chestnut Commons Road. And they are, what they're doing is also they wanted to have an accessibility to a larger group of people, more density, more group density. So at 57 you have another retailer, major retailer across the street, Walmart, which in Lorain County they have 3 Walmarts. Avon, Lorain and Elyria. Of those 3, this one does the best of all 3. The Elyria one, by far, is about $125 million a year for that one. The other 2 are under $100 million a year. So they can see this large draw coming to that specific area, and they're enamored with it. They see the opportunity to move there with their new prototype and be able to bring a lot more people because the accessibility off of 57 is there's 45,000 cars a day that go by there. So there's just from a real estate standpoint, it's a much greater impact for them from a store.
A lot of the folks we've had several meetings with, including Brenda Warren, has helped organize our community around this issue, and there's a lot of concern.
Yeah.
And I think from the city standpoint, there's a sense of wanting to hold ALDI accountable. Yes, we understand the business move, but you're also leaving in a community with a deficit. And what are they going to do to help fill that deficit? I know as a part of our agreement with you, is helping us to find a new grocer. And again, when we walk today, we're looking at one of the things we're hoping that Greg, you walk away with is a compelling story that if a grocer was to come here, that there's a community ready to support it. That there's a community ready to patronize and support a grocery store that would be there. And I think we'll talk a little bit about this whole neighborhood concept for a grocery store and what those options are. Greg, in terms of just initial thoughts on what you think we could do as a city to try to attract a grocer to this neighborhood.
Well, I deal with a lot of nationals, okay? So, but what I see being very successful is the grassroots market. And when you start looking at who is actually doing that in the Northeast Ohio area, startups are always the most volatile, getting startup and getting stabilized. So, a lot of cities will come in and help fund those people to get started. But we've been talking to Dave's, we've been talking to Peppers. I have not reached out to Apple again to see what their situation is. But if you could find somebody who already has 3 or 4, like Rigo's Lake Road Market, we're talking to them too about creating a smaller version. The most difficult thing in the area, especially we're talking about creating a food desert, is bringing in those fresh vegetables and the things that you can't get at Dollar Tree and Family Dollar. You want to be able to provide healthy options to the people who live in the neighborhood. It seems simple, but it's not the easiest thing to bring in every neighborhood. So that's really what we're going to be focused on. There's a couple nationals, one in particular that I talked to actually today, called Grocery Outlet. Grocery Outlet has 470 stores. You and I discussed them one time. They're out of California. They asked, our company represents them does a tenant representation for them for all of Northeast Ohio. Specifically, they asked about that ALDI again today. They are going to tour it again because the first person was not as open to it as this new person is. So they're going to tour it the next couple of days.
You know, the other thing I want us to be thinking about, and this came up in our meetings, was if that location isn't the best location. I know growing up, Aldi wasn't a walking trip for us necessarily because it's just not walkable. It's going down Oberlin Road. It's just not a lot of sidewalks over there. People would cut through the field. But as we're walking around, and even as we're just thinking about the neighborhood, if there's locations that you all would recommend to say, I think this is a good location or that is a good location, as Greg mentioned, the 15,000 square feet, I think, has been the number that we've been trying to figure out. Is there an existing structure with that amount of space already? Or could we, you know, convince the city to white box the space?